Okay. Oh, sorry, I just shoved a pen into a fan. I don't know why I did that. So I think I just hit record like at the worst time too. Pen. It's a pen. Anyway. So tribe has spoken. So relationships got 4 votes. So yep. Personal relationships underpinning group dynamics. Um, yes. So I'm just trying to remember how I separated these. Um, this one's actually pretty short, which is good because they don't have a lot of time. There's there's a common mistake I see people make when it comes to group interactions, and it's pretty straightforward. It's that most people think that when you're working with groups of people, like 3 or 4 people, or you're working with like large teams, like 30 or 40 people, that um, they kind of think about managing personal relationships and managing groups in two very different buckets, which is usually not very helpful in terms of like they're like, okay, I have my like group persona and I have my like personal persona. One of the problems with that is that I think from most anecdotal experience I've seen, when you enter a group situation trying to be in a group situation, that's how you think about it. You come at it in a very kind of like sterile, shallow way in terms of like, you're like, okay, well, you meet up with your group and you try and be very formal and polite and everything like that. But one of the problems is that when you're working with people, um, all of the like the extent to which your group relationship works, whether you're just trying to function in a group or whether you're trying to lead a group of people, pretty much only comes down to how strong the individual relationships you have with people are. So like if you're ever in a group with people, particularly if you're in a leadership position, usually it's a good idea to actually spend a lot of time investing in personal individual rapport with people in terms of actually spending time talking to them. And I don't mean like making friends and like getting drunk. That's just a bad idea. um, what I'm talking about is like just being able to talk to people professionally, right? Like imagine if you're at work and it's like you're just going to go eat lunch with these people. They're not coming to your wedding. You're not hanging out with them on the weekend. You're not talking about their like boyfriends or girlfriends or other partners. But you're actually just chatting to them about like, how's like, do you like dogs? Like I have a designer at the moment, and most of the scenarios I talk to them are in group chats or like other stuff. But it's like I make a very active effort to just at least once a week send them a message that's just like, how's it going? And again, I'm not trying to break into their personal life. That's not the point of these things. But it's just like, like I heard that there's like storms where you are. How's that all going? And I found out they like dogs. So every week I just send them a picture of a dog. Um, and the thing is that what you'll actually find is that if you can successfully essentially engage with people at a individual level, I should call it. Personal implies some kind of extra social thing. But like an individual level, you'll actually find that group situations and group dynamics actually build themselves up. And the largest teams of people that I've kind of ran are definitely in the Sunswift world, as you can see, because I've spent the better half of 4 years doing that stuff. And at the peak of it, like our teams were 50 or 60 people that I was directly responsible for, right? And it's like when you get up and you talk to those 50 and 60 people, or when you're having a group conversation with them, if you're seeing it like you're talking to a group, um, then you're never going to have cut through with them, right? Like you really have to come into a lot of these situations being like, I'm just talking generally to 40 people that I have a one-on-one relationship with, right? Like I know all of these people, and I don't mean extensively, but it's like we could talk in the elevator about anything, right? And anytime you can see, and this is the kind of rapport you should have with people you work with, because it also humanizes them, and it makes them humanize you. Um, because most things are complicated, right? And when things aren't getting done, um, maybe it's because there's a miscommunication, rather than kind of just being like, oh, fucking idiot, they don't know what they're doing. It's like, well, like you chat to them a little bit, and you feel more comfortable reaching out and just saying, hey, like, how's it going? Like, do you need any help? Um, is generally one thing. Um, oh, like tying to this topic as well, and this is a very challenging thing to get right, but a good piece of advice I have for anyone, and I give this to you know people in my team and everything else, is generally when you're frustrated with something, it's not a great It's not a great way to kind of just get annoyed at people. I have this phrase that I tout as much as I can, which is that the first 5 steps of anger are questions. And I mean, this goes for anything in your life, whether it's working with people or other people. It's like if something's ever bothering you, right? Like maybe people aren't doing people aren't doing merge requests right. Maybe people aren't responding to the chats. Maybe they're not contributing in group projects. Before you kind of turn around and say, because normally what happens is there's 2 cases. Either people just do nothing, or they're like, you need to do this. This is a problem. Fix it. And like whether you're a leader or a team member, that kind of approach doesn't work. Because 99% of the time, the reason things go wrong are not because people suck. They go wrong because people are confused, people are misunderstood. You're not on the same page. So I would implore you all, when you run into like group conflict situations, most of the time, the first thing you should do is ask yourself, what are some questions I can ask to better understand the situation? You know, so if someone is like merging in code that isn't tested, don't just be like, stop merging in code that doesn't work. Our group is not prepared to deal with these kinds of problems. It's like, just ask them and be like, hey, have you noticed that your code is like failing a lot of the time? Because they might be like, no, I didn't notice. And then you'd be like, oh, they just didn't understand how to use freaking GitLab. You're like, oh, that's easy. And then on the flip side, it's like, if they say, yes, I know what went wrong here. They're like, yes, I know my code's not working. Then you can just turn around and be like, okay, do you see that as a problem? You know, like, is that something that actually concerns you? Or like why do you still push it if you know it's a problem? And they might say, we're running too far behind. Like, we're too slow. And you'll be like, well, I disagree with that. And now your conversation is not about how stable their code is. Your conversation is about an understanding of urgency, right? And balancing getting it right with getting it done. So the short story there, it's like, spend the time to just actually develop a basic relationship with people around you. Just casually, like, and then the second one is, whenever things are annoying, it's like, play a game of exploration before you play a game of frustration. The problem is, just quickly, last thing, it's like, with the exploration thing, you got to be really careful not to be passive aggressive, because that's like that's one mistake I see people do, is like, I'm like, ask some questions before you get mad, and then like someone pushes some code that doesn't work, and people are like, I just wanted to check if like you're like, are you like aware like how broken your code is, or do you just not care? Like, and it's like, it's kind of bordering on that category that you're just being an asshole now. So, you know, it's like genuine exploration, right? Like, you're trying to find common ground, common humanity, because most people like you are just trying hard, and when things go wrong, it's just because systems, communication, and other stuff. You're all on the same battle, and then occasionally you run into a real pain in the ass, and there's not much I can do about that. But that's about all I have to say on that. Yeah. That's my advice for you with your teamwork stuff. How to deal with a little bit of that conflict, and then also how to just spend some time getting to know people. That's the really important part. You know, once someone's human, everything's easy, because you both want to make it work. Here's a poll just for this, and then we'll say bye-bye, because it's 12 o'clock now. So thank you for filling this in. Always like to try new things and see how people find it. Thanks to everyone for time today.